Didn't get the record. Okay. All right. Thank you, Adriana. And we have our next panel member, who is Shweta. She is a anti-colorism activist with a colorful life. She is a computer science engineer by way of background. Her passion is dance and writing. When she moved to London in 2000, she started running a Bollywood dance company called 3B, Bold, Beautiful, and Very Bollywood, alongside working at UBS in their IT department. As a creative director of the company for 10 years, some proud moments include her featured as a semi-finalist in Britain's Got Talent 2010, and being invited by the London Olympics team to audition for the closing ceremony in 2012. Having noticed the lack of representation in children's books, Shweta launched the Deb and Ali series of picture books. She has awarded the Asian Women of Achievement Award for Arts and Culture in 2016. And she is now working on her memoir, The Black Rose, based on her journey through colorism from the age of 6. Shweta's mission is simple: to instigate change for which she is prepared to take the risk of exposing herself to the world. You can find her on Instagram at The Black Roseway. And last, but certainly not least, we have Stacy Summers. Stacy is an overcomer of skin bleaching. She started at a young age, and since she is stopped by the power and grace of God, she is now sharing her testimony and teaching other people about self-love and being an example of how the Haitian and Caribbean community can also stop bleaching their skin and love the way that God has created them. Stacy was also featured on the Red Table Talk, where she testified and shared her story to millions of people of her journey of reverting her skin back to normal and how she was able to stop bleaching her skin. She also stated that the skin bleaching did more harm than good and caused a huge problem with her skin, but she was able to revert and clear her skin without causing any long-term effects. Stacy Summers is now launching her skincare business to help individuals who are either struggling with skin problems due to skin bleaching, or have acne or dry skin. It has now been 4 years since she has had freedom from all skin bleaching creams and continues to testify and bring awareness to her community. She expresses that her Black is beautiful, and she will continue to teach young people to love themselves the way that God has created them, no matter what their nationality or race is. Yes. So we have a beautiful panel here today, and we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it with our questions. We have several questions here today that the panel is willing to answer. And then again, we will take some careful questions afterwards. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have each participant answer the question, or if you want to skip a question, you can say, I'll come back to this one, or skip, something like that. And we're gonna just go in the order of which the screen appears. So we'll have Stacy, Adriana, and Shweta. We can go in that order since that's how you guys are appearing on the screen. All right, perfect. Okay, so our first question is going to be, how has colorism impacted your life?
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfect, yes.
Okay. Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. Skin bleaching has totally affected my life in a way that I can't really describe. From a young age, I started bleaching my skin. It did affect myself in a very terrible low self-esteem, to the point where I wanted to commit suicide because I thought I was too dark and I was too ugly. It came to a point where people used to pick on me, calling me, I look like a Black gorilla. I look like I'm too Black. I look like I'm a Black, computer screen or TV screen. It really messed me up mentally when I was younger, to the point where I started bleaching my skin. And not only that, I am Haitian. So growing up in a Haitian Caribbean household, I had a lot of family members that were bleaching, and bleaching was introduced to me at a young age because I thought I too was, too dark. My darkness was not pretty enough. I didn't compare to the other, women who are light skinned or men who are light skinned. So it did mess me up to a point where I wanted to commit suicide. I had depression and a very bad low self-esteem.
Yeah, hello everyone, good morning. Thank you for having me here, Sean, and great presentation, Dr. Benson. So definitely to start off in regards to like skin bleaching and colorism, I think that my biggest thing is from a very young age, I definitely, was like known to be like dark skinned and always like being the darkest person in the room and getting like very heavily bullied at a young age. I think that's just something that affected me like really deeply and like still affects me from this day, even though I have overcome it. But yeah, so just being bullied for being dark skinned just led me. I didn't thankfully I didn't bleach my skin for too long, but when I did turn 16 and was able to get my driver's license, I know like the first place I went to, it was like beauty supply store to get skin bleaching products because I did just always have that in my head. All right, like if I was lighter, I would be more beautiful. I would just be able to get through life in an easier capacity and way. So I guess like that's kind of the backstory for me, but like definitely like Dr. Benson said, for me, it was just dealing with trauma and thinking that that was the way to overcome like the trauma that I dealt with. And I would feel more beautiful if I did have lighter skin. So I guess that's the backstory for me.
Thank you. And Shweta?
Hi, everyone. My name is Shweta. First of all, Sean, thank you so much for organizing this. And thank you, Dr. Benson, for your amazing presentation. Everything that you said has really, really resonated. And, you know, there's a common theme here. The impact of colorism starts, I think we can all agree, from a very young age, from childhood, right? And I went through the sort of same thing because I am the color that I am, but I am brown, but I was born brown to really, really fair parents. Both my parents are like as fair as Indians can get. Like if you watch Bollywood movies, they're like Aishwarya Rai fair. And my brother is very fair as well. My entire paternal side of the family, every single one of them is extremely fair. I have a cousin who's got green eyes, light brown hair, fair, like he looks European. And then there's me who's brown and, you know, black hair and all that. So from a very young age, I was made to feel very different. And it was pointed out to me by this horrible, horrible uncle that I happened to be put in boarding school when my parents moved to Japan at the age of 6 because they couldn't afford my education when my father was basically setting up his business. This uncle then preyed on me in terms of verbal abuse. And he started saying things like, you know, they left you behind because you don't belong to them, because you are dark. They're ashamed of you. And that's why you're here. And that's why your brother is with them, but you are here. And as you can imagine, as a 6-year-old child already going through that sense of abandonment when you're in a boarding school and you don't know why, to then hear something like that, I mean, that just sets you up for life, right? In terms of the trauma that you go through and the low self-esteem. And so that was the beginning of my journey, which I think I've kind of answered one of your next questions, Sean. That was the beginning of my journey. And since that day on, it was just one comment after another, compounded. And then you finally get to a stage where you just succumb and you think, well, everybody's doing it. And as Stacy was saying, that, you know, if you've got family members bleaching and you see products of, like, you know, the skin lightening creams and Fair and Lovely and what have you on their kind of dressing table, and it's a household product in terms of, you know, what you buy from from the shops, you just do it, right? Because you don't think about it much as a child. You think, oh, well, everybody's doing it, so you know, it probably is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, so you do it. You don't even think about the harmful side of skin bleaching. And so yeah, that's how it's impacted me. And I've used skin lightening creams for, I would say, at least 2 decades, on and off. But not anymore.
Thank you so much to you three. I think you really expressed some things that a lot of people have felt before. So I think I appreciate you being so honest about it and so open. Okay, now our next question. Now, if you want to skip this one, you can. It kind of goes into the first one a little bit, but if you're like, oh, I feel like I already answered it, then you just say pass. Don't worry about it. So our next question, it talks about whether you went through a final event or trauma that triggered you, like this is it, or whether you would say it was an accumulation of events that caused you to want to lighten your skin. So again, you guys already kind of touched on this, so you can answer that how you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the question is, do you think it was a final event that kind of triggered you towards, okay, this is it, I'm gonna go get this product, or would you say it was an accumulation of events? I think the question is kind of obvious as far as what the answer would be, but if you want to add anything to it, you can.
Yes, for me, it was an accumulation of events because I was getting tired of being bullied, like to the point it was really messing me up mentally. That I remember when I was, I think 14 or 13 years old in my old apartment when I was younger, I literally sat in my balcony and I was contemplating if I should just jump and commit suicide. Like it really did affect me. So it was a series of events. You know, the bullying was nonstop. In the school, I would run out of class, go in the hallway and just start crying, or go to the principal office or the guidance counselor, to the point where I didn't want to go to school. So I believe when I was going to the new grade, you know, the new school year, towards that summer, I was getting excited because I was telling myself that, yes, it's summer, I will start bleaching my skin so that when I go back to school during the fall, you know, I'll look pretty for people to accept me. So since, you know, at a young age, it was really messing me up in my mental state that I wanted to commit suicide and I wasn't happy and I was looking for validation from other people. That was my breaking point that, you know, maybe I should bleach my skin. Maybe the bullying would stop, and it did, you know. It's so funny that it did. And it's depressing that once I did start, people loved me, the bullying stopped, and I was finally accepted by my community and my peers at my school.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that for me, it was definitely accumulation of events, starting from getting bullied at a younger age. And then in high school, going to a high school that was predominantly white, just like always being the darkest person in the room, and all of that, and just like connecting that with like, oh, like I must, like, you know, I'm not attractive, I'm ugly, and all of that. And then also just like growing up and having some family members that did use bleaching products. So I remember like going to their, like when I was at their house, and like if I did go to the bathroom and see these bleaching products, it's something that I didn't really, I was like, wow, like even like people that like I know, I love, are close with me, our family are doing it, then you know, it must be something that I should be doing as well.
Yeah, I completely agree again with both of you. I went through a similar process where it's an accumulation of things. And I suppose an accumulation reaches a tipping point, right? And funnily enough, that's the first title of my of my book, the first chapter. And the tipping point for me, I have to say, was actually also when I was around 11, and there's this boy who used to bully me in school, and he would call me things like the black sheep or the ugly duckling. And because, you know, and you know what the irony was? That he's also brown. He was an Indian boy, same skin, literally the same skin tone as me. But because he was a boy, he got away with it. And because he wasn't different to his family, that was his kind of trump card. Well, at least I look like my family. You don't look like a family. So I was called the ugly duckling. And I think that was my tipping point, where before I went into secondary school, I then decided, okay, actually, I've got this uncle in India who tells me that I don't belong. And that sense of belonging as a child, if you don't have, then you really, really are like rock bottom, right? And then on the other hand, I've got a bully in school who calls me things like the ugly duckling. Well, if I just get my hands on a cream, and during the 6-week summer break, if I beautify myself with these creams and lighten myself, then I'll go to school as a new person. And, you know, that's it. I'll put an end to it all. And that's how I started with my skin lightening creams journey.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Thank you all so much. Okay, so our next question. Now, Stacy, you already touched on this a little bit. So again, you can pass by if you feel better about it. So this question is going to be, did your life change at all while you were in the process of doing it? So you talked a little bit about how people did give you that positive feedback, but for others, maybe it didn't have any effect. So you can answer that how you would like.
Yes, I'll just touch a little bit on it. My life did change while I was bleaching. Again, the people who didn't accept me now that I did bleach, I was the finest thing on earth. All of a sudden I'm so attractive. People asking me to prom. My friends who look just like me, dark skin, wanted to hang out with me more. So my life did change, and I'll say in a positive way, I guess, because I did bleach. From my peers. So yeah, to answer your question, it did change.
So for me, my life, like it did change, but in regards to it, it was just because of confidence. Like I definitely I didn't bleach my skin for too long, so I didn't feel any like effects of, but I would say just like my confidence, like feeling more comfortable in my skin, and all of that. And I think that was like kind of like the biggest thing for me, because I didn't get, more like very lighter or anything like that. I did get like lighter to the point, like my mom, I remember, she was like, what, like, why is your skin lighter? Like, what are you doing? Are you bleaching your skin or something? But like, she definitely said it in like a kind of joking way, because she didn't think I was, but then I was like, oh, like I must be getting lighter. And that's when I like kind of just really like took a look and like just reevaluated everything. So it definitely did change, but not like from how people treated me. It was just definitely a confidence, and being more comfortable in my skin, being more comfortable with myself. So it definitely all like 100% a mind thing for me.
Yeah. Again, agreed. Same thing here. I think it's definitely a confidence thing. And I hate to admit this truth, but we're here to speak the truth. So unfortunately, it is one of those things where when you start when you start bleaching yourself, you have that, self-confidence boost because others accept you, right? And it is such a shame that that's what it takes to receive acceptance. But unfortunately, that's how they make you feel. And it's very, very explicitly communicated to you by things, when they say things like, oh, you look beautiful now, or you're in Hindi they say your color is now clean. They use the word saf, which means clean, implying that if you're brown, you're dirty. Like, so obviously when you hear things like that as a teenager, and if you start using those creams and those are the comments you receive, then it boosts your confidence and you think, okay, well, is this it? This is all I have to do to be accepted? Like, fine, I'll change my color then and I'll continue doing it. So yeah, it is a kind of a really sad addiction, as Dr. Benson said.
Thank you. So as we talk about the ways in which colorism and skin bleaching has impacted ladies, what could you say to how you've overcome it? What helped you overcome it, or what things happened that caused you to get through it?
I'll say God caused me to get through it, to overcome it, because I had to sit back and realize one day I will have a daughter. One day I will bear children, and I would never in my life would want my child to face what I've been through, to hate their skin color because they're made in they're made in the image of God, but they'll come for me, and I have to be the representation that you're beautiful. I have to build my self-esteem and acknowledge, what, Stacy, you're beautiful. God made no mistakes. You have identity in Christ, and one day you'll have children, and I would never in my life want my daughter or my son to feel like they're nothing because of their skin color. I had to build myself up for my future generations, for my children, to overcome whatever society may throw at them. That one day they'll look in the mirror and say, you know what, mommy, you're right. I am beautiful. I don't need to bleach my skin because you don't. What kind of person would I be to bleach my skin and have my children looking at me bleach my skin? Like, where is the self-love that I'm teaching my child? So it was the grace of God that allowed me to stop, uh, because there's no way I would want anyone to deal with this, what I've been through, to hate themselves to the point that they want to change their identity to be a completely different color person that God did not intend them to be.
For me, it was definitely my family. My mom, like, definitely like played a huge part in it. Even like from a young age, just growing up, she always would tell me I'm beautiful, like my skin's beautiful, my hair is beautiful, everything like that. So kind of like I said in the last question, when she did like ask me like if I was bleaching and all of that, and I did like take a look at myself, that kind of really made me reevaluate it. And then I will say like also like my aunts, like my Aunt Catherine, my Aunt Vivian. I remember like one summer I was at my Aunt Catherine's house, and I was just like really like just talking to her, like sad, like she's dark skin as well, but she's like a lighter tone of dark skin. So I was just like, I wish I looked like you, like I don't like my skin color. And just like her like telling me how beautiful I was, and like, you know, it's okay and stuff like that. And then just like other, like my mom and my aunts just educating me about like my aunts that do bleach, and how like it is like you know, like they're not the same skin tone like on their hands and like other thing, and it is just like affecting them super negatively. So like just getting educated on like the effects of skin bleaching, and just like being like growing up with like such a loving family that really taught me to like love my skin color and like just love myself, and like being comfortable in myself, and just having, and I think like the biggest thing for me as well, like reasons why I wanted to stop and like make a YouTube video like talking about my experience, and like just like always like whenever I see like a dark skinned little girl, and like I have like a little sister, like so making her always feel beautiful in her skin, and just like having that love and like appreciation, and like educating other people, I think was the biggest thing for me.
I have to say, for me, the first awakening as such that I had was after I had my daughter. When she was born, sadly, one of the first things that came through my mind, I remember holding her in the hospital in my arms, and I looked at her and I said, thank God she's fair, because I didn't want her to go through what I have been through. Then when I came home, I realized like that was an awful thing to think. And I thought, okay, I'm never ever going to get colorism anywhere near her. But it didn't really leave me for, you know, a few years after that, because as I say, like as Dr. Benson says, it's an addiction, right? So whilst you protect your kids and you don't let colorism near them, and I allow her to play in the sun and for her to embrace her color and all that, it's still the complex, the deep-rooted, you know, low self-esteem. It just doesn't leave you for a while. So the second awakening was when my daughter caught me red-handed with the cream in a holiday in a beach resort in Thailand. And she caught me buying it, and she called me out on it, and she said, you know, well, why are you buying this cream, and what does it do? And she was 9 years old by that time. And, you know, intelligent girl, I can't fib, I can't tell stories, and I can't make up stuff. So I actually told her, I said, oh, it lightens your skin. And I knew that I'm in deep trouble after that point, and that conversation is going to blow up. But it did, rightly so. And she basically said, well, you know, why do you need to lighten your skin? You tell us to be happy with who we are, but aren't you happy with yourself? And at that moment, I realized how much of a hypocrite I had become, because I continued to use these lightening products. But at the same time, the message I was giving to my children was, you are beautiful the way you are, embrace yourself the way you are, be confident, self-love, blah, 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 blah. And that was my first awakening. And I think at that point, I started to kind of wean myself off the products. Not entirely. The big, big, big third and final awakening was actually the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. And that's when it really, really hit me, when it kind of became a global phenomena, and the protests and everything that followed from it, racism, colorism. I mean, and, you know, here we are today talking about it more.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I think a lot of people in the comments are sharing that, you know, that the story, you share your personal accounts are very moving for them. And that's the reason why I wanted to have people come on to talk about their stories, because I believe it pushes us more into action. We can actually hear how colorism and how our society is affecting other people and what it kind of pushes people to do and the trauma that it causes. So that's why I wanted you ladies to come on here and share your story. And I think it's doing just that. And this is the final question. It's going to be a two-part because it's kind of the same question. And then after this, I again will open the floor for a few questions. We want to try to wrap up. So we'll open it for a few questions. So our last, this again, the two-part. And you're not tasked to end colorism or skin bleaching, but this is just if you do have any thoughts about it. So the first part of the question is, what would you say to a person who is tempted to bleach their skin or feels that their life will be better that way? And also, do you have any ideas on what can be done on a personal and societal level to end skin bleaching?
I'll say if someone is tempting or considering to bleach their skin, I would tell them don't do it. It's better for you to find yourself and accept your identity and to love yourself, because it's not worth it. In the long run, you will ruin your skin. It can damage your skin and you think you're building yourself up, but in reality, you're tearing your own self up and people don't even have to tear you down. You're doing it by yourself. It's not worth it. I'll say just love yourself the way God made you. There's no reason why you should feel belittled or ugly or not worth it because of your skin color. If you're dark, love yourself the way you are. If you're light skinned, love yourself the way you are. You don't have to change yourself for nobody or to please anyone whatsoever. The second question, I believe, can you repeat that? What was the second question?
Of course. The second part of that is, do you have any ideas? You kind of already touched on it, but do you have any ideas on what can be done on a personal and also a societal level to end skin bleaching?
I wish we can get rid of all lightening creams. That would be one step. You know, when you go to your local beauty supply store, what do you see? Nothing but skin bleaching creams, lightening creams, carrot creams to bleach, your skin. For one, I wish we can just get rid of it or, protest in front of different beauty supply store, do something like that. To get rid of it. I feel like if we love ourselves, there's no reason we need to change, what we already were created to be. Dark people, light people, whatever color you are. I believe self-love is the bottom solution. If you love yourself, why change something that God made you?
Yeah, for me, I think that I would first ask the person to kind of just really look deep and understand why they even want to bleach their skin. So I think that like understanding like the trauma, understanding like the reason behind that and really dissecting that and kind of like talking from there to understand like why they feel that point. Because a lot of the times people really don't even like dissect and understand the trauma that kind of leads them to wanting to bleach their skin. And then a lot of times it is because of, bullying, or is it just because of self-esteem? They feel like they would get treated better. They will, just have an easier life. So just getting them to understand like their trauma and healing from that trauma. Of course, telling them like not to, educating them on the horrible side effects of skin bleaching, or showing them pictures and like just like really educating them on like, you're not going to be able to use this for a month and like get lighter and like never have to use it again. It is something that you're going to have to continually use for the rest of your life, and like just putting those actual like chemicals in your body is just something horrible. So like definitely just understanding the reason behind it and educating them is like the biggest thing that I would do to someone who is considering skin bleaching. And then in regards to the second question, my biggest thing is just kind of like being there in regards to like being open about my experiences. I think that's like the biggest thing for me, because when I was thinking about like skin bleaching and just like my situation in general, I remember going on YouTube and like looking it up, and there wasn't like any content like that had like people talking about you know, what like their skin bleaching journey, like why they stopped and stuff like that. Definitely that was 5 years ago. So now thankfully there are more stories about that, but like I still get like little girls, like people in like third grade and middle school and stuff, like DMing me, like I would say like at least once a month, like saying how much like the video I made talking about my personal experience has helped them, and like just like telling me about the trauma and like the bullying that they're going through, and like you know, so like just being there as someone that people can talk to, like having, like I was saying, like a safe place, you know, letting them know it's okay. And like the biggest thing is usually that confidence thing. So I think that if there were more like dark skinned people, like we we're talking about, out there as models and like influencers, stuff like that, because it is like, if all you're seeing are like light skinned women, of course, like that's what the beauty standard is always going to be.
Yeah, I mean, both of you have touched upon everything that I want to say anyway. So I would say if anybody is considering skin bleaching, one of the first things that I feel that we should talk about more is about talking, about sharing. Because if you have a confidant and if you share your emotions and your feelings and what you've been going through, your experiences, it makes it easier, because you then realize that actually you're not the only person in the world who's going through this. Often us ladies, we reach out for these creams because of the trauma that we've experienced. And we think often we feel that we're the only one, but it's not the case. We're all here talking about colorism, discussing colorism, because we've all been through a certain journey, right? So talking to somebody about those experiences, you'll realize that actually, firstly, you're not alone. There's a wider community out there. Join those communities, become a part of those communities that are actually fighting colorism actively, or talking about it, talking about self-love. And hopefully that'll be a deterrent for you not to want to reach out for those creams, because I think one of the things that perhaps Stacy and Adriana might have done is reach out for those creams when you haven't actually shared what you're going through, right? At least I did that. I never told my parents what I was going through. I never ever told them whether, about the uncle who was bullying me and about the other boy who was bullying me. I internalized it. And because I internalized it, I kind of felt like, I was literally carrying the world's weight on my shoulders in terms of like the problems, and I made it my problem. And I felt like I am the problem. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we reach out for these creams, because we feel that we are the fault. We are not the victims. If the problem is us. And I feel that if we actually share, then we realize we are not the problem. The problem is the notion. And then we stop thinking about wanting to bleach our skin, because we realize it's not us that needs to change, it's the notion that needs to change. And so the second thing I would say is it's the addiction of it. So I would definitely discourage anybody reaching out for these creams because of the addiction attached to using these creams. It's not something that you do, as you said, Sean, just for a month. You do it over years and years and years. And of course, I did it for years and years and years, not realizing and not even caring, to be honest, about the harmful effects, because nobody talks about them. They're available readily on shelves in cosmetic stores. So you think, well, they're being sold globally, so there shouldn't be anything wrong with them, right? You don't think, oh, well, actually, let me turn to the back and see the ingredients and let me Google mercury or hydroquinone or, so yeah, the harmful side of things, the effect of it. And in terms of the personal healing, as well as how we can, what society can do, I think what I've already touched upon the personal healing side of things, but what society can do, I really feel is representation. We need more representation in media, social media, particularly, because that's the way the world is going. Influencers, people like us, activists, talking about colorism and the effects of it more. Right now, what we have is just not enough. Absolutely not enough.
Well, Thank you. And that is all of the questions that we have. And I appreciate you ladies being here, being so open and honest and being willing to share your experiences. I think that will help with the healing, the growth, the learning of a lot of people. So I really, really appreciate it. So now we're going to open the floor for, again, respectful questions. So if you have a question, you can, do your hand, and then I'll call on you, and then you can ask a question. So we'll do that for a few minutes. So if anybody has any questions for our panelists, for myself, Dr. Benson had to do a consultation, I think, so she may not be able to answer any. But if you have any questions, you can either drop it in the chat or raise your hand, either or. We'll stay here for a few minutes, about 5 extra minutes, to see if anyone has any questions.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you okay, perfect. Yes, thank you so much for the panel. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the presentation first and then the panel. Really, thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge, but also being really hard and really honest. And you kind of touched on things, but I'm really big now on having a change, because I just don't want the next generation to still deal with the same BS. And I'm just wondering, what do you think? How can we help people accountable? Not people, institutions, like shops, like I think it was Adriana, or Stacy, I'm so sorry, I didn't remember, but who mentioned the beauty salons. So I also have my African beauty salon, and the artist creams, and I'm passing by, and it upsets me so much. And I really was considering, should I talk to the owner? Does he bring something? Is he the one to be accountable, because he's just selling what people want, right? So I'm just wondering, what do you think can we like really practically do to, have a change?
Yeah, I think, just like we were all talking about, I think mentioned before, I think the biggest thing is just educating people, having that representation, and just, I don't think that there is enough awareness of like the harsh side effects of actual bleaching. Like I know that when I like wanted to bleach and started bleaching, I would like compare it to tanning. I'd be like, all right, like people like tan all the time. It's literally legal. And that's just something that I see like my peers and everyone doing. So what's wrong with me bleaching my skin when people are like tanning? So like that's just something that I would compare it to. And of course there's like awful side effects to tanning and stuff like that, but not even like in comparison with like bleaching and the chemicals and everything that comes with it. So especially even like people understanding how it's an addiction, because people don't see it as that. So that education part of it. And then I think that if there was just more out there of just like the harmful side effects of bleaching, and like just like as well as just people understanding that you are never going to get that perfect fair skin color, the tone and stuff. I think that that's the biggest thing from my eyes that would help it. And obviously, like Stacy said, of course, if we weren't able, like beauty supply stores weren't allowed to sell those creams and stuff like that, I think that would be like the best way. But I don't know if we can see that happening anytime soon as well. So that's my perspective.
Thank you. And you were also asking how we can hold people accountable who are pushing us towards colorism and skin bleaching. Do you ladies have anything you would want to add to that? How we can hold people accountable that are perpetuating colorism?
I will also say, and I think that someone did say that in the chat, like for me, personally, the people that were bullying me were the same skin tone as me, or like little, like they were Black. Like I've never been bullied for my skin by a white person, Hispanic person, anyone. Like it was always like Black people that were bullying me because of my skin tone and being darker. Even like someone else mentioned as well, like it was like a boy who was my same skin tone bullied me a lot. So So I think that for that, it was just in turn, like they were dealing with stuff themselves, like they didn't love themselves, they didn't love their own skin color. So I think it was, they just needed healing. And I don't know if we're able to be we're able to do anything to hold them accountable, but it's more of just like realizing that those people are like hurting as well, and they need healing for themselves. So that's definitely like how I like was able to kind of just move forward and like just really understand that it's just a self-love type thing in regards to them. Like they don't love themselves, and they need to kind of like just get healed, honestly.
Just to piggyback to what Adrian was saying, there's a quote that says, if you see something, say something. Because again, it was a lot of Black boys who were picking on me. So I wished around that time, maybe one of my peers would stop them, from bullying me. If you see something, say something. If you see someone is degrading somebody because of their skin color, we should be able to say, look, that's not right. Stop the colorism, let her be in a music video too, just because she's darker. There's a lot of times you watch music videos, it's a light-skinned person, a light-skinned girl, who's a part of the music video, and then they turn down the Black girl. I believe, when it comes to popularity or, different rappers and stuff, if the fans see something, they should say something, bring more Black, darker women, in music videos, Black, darker people to sing. Or if you go to a school, you see the younger generation picking on someone that's darker, say something, teach that young man or, that young woman who's picking on someone because of their skin color, like, no, accept them. They're okay, we're different, and it's fine. Just because that person is dark doesn't mean that they're ugly, doesn't mean that they amount to anything. So I believe we should teach people about colorism and, uplift people as well and speak out. Because I used to be a preschool teacher where I'd seen, the dark little boys picking on the dark girls, and I had to say something as a teacher. So if you see something, say something.
Thank you. We're gonna do about 3 more questions. So I have one here that says, so I have someone who wants to know, do you think that people should focus more so on healing society at large or helping to heal victims of colorism? So should we work on the society, or should we try to do measures that directly are aimed at people who have suffered with colorism?
I think, could I answer that if that's okay?
Yeah.
Have a go? I think both need to be done in parallel. I don't think that we can kind of separate the two, because we victims and we as people are part of society. We are society, right? So it has to be done in parallel, where we are going through our own healing and are having talks like this, discussing things openly. Somebody actually asked in the chat as well about how do you encourage people to talk about their trauma without, fear of judgment. And I'll go back to that as well by saying, talk maybe to just one person first to begin with, like somebody that you can really trust, who's your confidant, who you can share everything with. And then when you start feeling comfortable, talk to other people. The more we talk, the more we spread the message in society. And the more we spread the message in society through social media and talks like this, the more we can then feel braver to call it out, right? So, if you see something, say something. Absolutely agree with that. Call it out in a non-aggressive way, but call it out and educate people. Tell them about what they're saying is wrong, what their mindset is wrong, and the implication of it, the impact of it, because colorism is so deep rooted. Very often, like in our society, people think it's okay. They actually think there's nothing wrong with it. Like, oh, what do you mean? If we're calling you dark, or if we're suggesting ways to improve your color, we're actually helping you. There's nothing wrong with it. That's their mentality. That actually is a lot of people's mentality. But no, that's wrong. You're not helping us. You're actually really adding to the problem, because you're adding to that narrow beauty standard, fair is beautiful, right? So absolutely, 100% call it out. So one of the things that we definitely, I feel, need to call out is representation in social media, representation in movies and pop videos, etc. There was this one movie that I watched, a latest Bollywood movie, where, you know, progressive movie, wonderful. The movie was about this man accepting a transgender girl as his romantic partner, not knowing that she's, you know, a transgender girl, but he literally thought like she was a woman and he was madly in love with her and all that. And so the entire movie is about that process of him finally coming around the full circle and going, okay, I accept you. But at the same time, they're perpetuating colorism by little dialogues in the movie, like, oh, the sister is like actually encouraging him to go out with this girl, saying, look at her, she's so gori chitti. Gori chitti means pasty white. And the translation in Netflix was so pretty. So you've got to call that out, like absolutely call things out like this, you know, because they can't get away with this sort of, these sort of dialogues anymore because they're perpetuating colorism.
Thank you. We're gonna do one more question here, and I think it's a good way to wrap it up. And then I put their social media handle. And I'll post them one more time, just in case you guys want to talk to them about anything else, or you want to follow them, and they may be willing to talk with you. And I'll put their social media handles again. I know they do talk about colorism, so you can reach out to them. And then we have one more question. I think it's a good way to wrap it up. So we have one person who said they love hearing from all of you, the honesty and vulnerability. They would like to know, and they felt that you guys touched on it, but did you guys find it uncomfortable to talk about using skin bleaching and open it up to others? If yes, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, no, I can go. Oh, sorry, it's Stacy.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Well, mine's is really short. So no, I didn't find it to be uncomfortable. I was actually excited, to, tell the world, or, to tell people about my situation of skin bleaching. I guess I had to build confidence. And now that I have the confidence and I love myself and, love my darkness, I'm excited and I'm open when it comes to skin bleaching. You can ask me anything and I will be free and honest to answer, about my past traumas and everything. So to answer your question, no, I didn't find it to be uncomfortable because I was ready, to stop. I was ready to stop bleaching my skin. I was ready to love myself. I was ready, to gain my confidence. I was just tired. And when you get to a point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you just be open. And that was my situation. I was just tired of bleaching my skin and hating myself,
Yeah, no, I definitely, for me, it was, like I said, I just figured out, like, it was just this confidence thing. I'm never gonna be light skinned, like I'm a dark skinned woman. So like, I just need to learn how to love myself and just be me. I definitely skin bleaching for me wasn't something that I did for a long time. So it isn't something that I talk to my family about, my mom, my aunts, or anything like that. But it is definitely something that I now am super confident about, especially since I don't want anyone to be skin bleaching. So it's something that now I am very open, confident, and freely and willing to talk about it to anyone going through anything that I went through.
I would say, yes, I was afraid. You have that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
I would say, yes, I was afraid because we have that fear in us of what will people say? What will people think? That fear of being judged. Oh, you were bleaching your skin? You know what the sad thing is? That it's society that makes us go that way, right? It pushes us to do such things. On the other hand, when you actually then admit that you started using these sort of products and you use them for a long time, they go, what? You did? No way. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But is it really? Is it ridiculous? Because we are all educated people. Like, we wouldn't have gone that way if we weren't made to feel a certain way, right? So I absolutely was scared. Like, I mean, even my memoir now, till date now, yesterday I was in tears, literally yesterday, crying to my brother because I was panicking, thinking, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I can't put my book out there. I can't put myself out there. What will people say? What will people think? But on the other hand, one of the things that keeps me going is the fact that I can now stand tall and proud in front of my kids. And the amount of confidence they've given me and the amount of love that I've received from them and the connection that I have with them now, which is so much stronger because they have seen the vulnerable side of me, but they've also seen the fact that I've fought something, right? And when you fight something, the feeling that you get, the empowerment that you receive from love from the family and that support to keep going is so much more worth it than the discomfort and the feeling of being scared. So please, please, please do not be scared. If you want to stop bleaching, if you want to talk to people about it, please reach out to any one of us and we'll be here to talk to you about your experiences, about our own experiences. Happy to talk about anything.
Okay, thank you guys. Well, that is all. Again, I put their social media handles in there so you can reach out to any of these ladies if you want to learn more about them. I am going to request if you guys could go to this link here and just give me some feedback on the conference so I can improve it for the future, or if anything else you want to see or anything else of that nature, you can go to that link right there and just let me know your thoughts on the conference. And I just want to say thank you to Shweta, Adriana, and Stacy. You guys are amazing, and this was amazing. And I really appreciate you sharing your vulnerabilities with us and just helping to fight colorism. So thank you guys so much. And again, I'll stay on here for a few seconds so you guys can get their social media handles, and I'll just say them out loud. They're going to be the Black Rose Way, at the Black Rose Way, at Adri, and at Stacy Summers. And you can also see Stacy's episode on the Red Table Talk on her page too. So definitely go check that out. And Adriana, your YouTube is on your Instagram. Okay, so her YouTube is on her Instagram. And again, Shweta, she puts up stuff about her book on her page and that she's getting ready to release and talks about colorism a lot. So you definitely enjoy going to find all three of them. And yes, thank you so much. And just go ahead and grab the link so you can just let me know. If you go up, okay, I'll post the handles one more time. There, one second. Okay, those are the handles. So the Black Rose Way, at Adri, and Stacy Summers. Oh my gosh, I've been sending it to Dr. Benson. I'm like, why is nobody getting my messages? What is she talking about? I just put the handles. I just put the handles. I didn't want to say that, but I'm like, did she not see the handles? I just put them right there. So no, you didn't see them.
Shall I?
So here are the handles.
Do you want us to write our handles in the chat, in the group chat?
Oh, well, I put them in the chat. I was just sending them to Dr. Benson. I was sending them to Dr. Benson because I had sent her a message during her presentation. So there we are. Those are the handles. And then did you guys, so I guess you didn't get the link either that I put on here asking you guys to go see. Okay, just give me what, here it is. Let me just put the link on here because again, I had it on Dr. Benson, so no one saw anything I sent. Okay, here's the link right here for the survey. If you guys want to give me any feedback, any comments on what you want to see next time, etc. Those are all of the handles right there. The Black Rose Way, at Adri, and Stacy Summers. All right. And I did get the panel part of this recorded. I don't know if I want to put it up. I think it's just more intimate. I don't know. I'd rather probably just keep it. So I'll let you guys know if I do decide to put it up, but it probably won't be put up. So, but thank you for coming. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone for coming. Okay.
Thank you.
I think if we all got the, oh, one second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.